Okay, update on uranium here, May 13th, Friday night. We have a clean weekly candle. We'll start with CCJ as our proxy, and so important to note the overall markets, the major indices made a swing low today, likely meaning that likely Thursday, so May 12th was your daily cycle low. So same thing for uranium. So that mean like today was day one of your daily cycle. We had a pullback towards the end. You can see this upper wick here. So not awesome, but like that's kind of how uranium rolls. Even with the green days, you get like a bit of a pullback, some reluctance. Uh, we almost kissed the 10-day moving average. You can imagine, even if this is going to be bearish, that we could get up to like, I would think like the 24, 25, in that kind of ballpark. And if you think about the weekly chart, we're on week 15, so not super late, and so you would suspect that there is more downside, but we probably just printed an IC a daily cycle low, right? So if you think about what that might mean, right? So let's say we have another daily cycle. This one was 40 trading days. Let's say this next one is 25 trading days. So that puts us at a low that around, let's see here, that gets us to like, so, you know, the June 17th, which would be on a weekly level, right? Let's see, go over the weekly chart. Yeah, so that's basically, so that's interesting, right? Because that would mean that this daily cycle, right? So you can imagine we get a bounce up to like here, maybe even the 26 area, and then we kind of roll over, maybe complete the cycle on week 18 to 20. You can see that's kind of around where we kind of close. Although, there's certainly been other weekly cycles that have been in the 14, 15 range. So it's totally possible that this daily cycle low is actually also a weekly cycle low. But most importantly, we at least have a short term low. And so you would expect, going back to the daily chart, in a bearish cycle, we got a rally for 6 days here. This was a rally for 11 days. These are cycles that failed where, we end, well, actually, this one didn't fail technically, but or actually, no, sorry, this one did fail, the one that went to 6, right? So we only got, because when you make a daily cycle high that early in the daily cycle, it massively increases the odds that you're going to fail, right? So, like in this cycle, right, we had made our high on day 4 and then we failed, meaning this low was lower than the previous daily cycle low. High on day 6, high on day 11. So, call it anywhere from like, 6 to 9 days. Just really, really broad strokes. Again, totally possible that we actually end up continuing to rally past. You just want to be aware of that, of that sort of scenario. And finally, the monthly chart. I call this out. This is month 26. We do have a swing high in place. And if you think about a 3-year cycle, which is a pretty common sort of cycle length that most assets follow, if it's going to be 36 months, and so we could easily have a top here, and that would still be a right translated 3-year cycle, right? Because if the cycle is 36 months and the high comes on month 25, it means we've advanced for 25 months, and then we're going to decline for call it 11 months. So that would still be a fairly right translated, um, 3-year cycle. And so that's something that we're going to have to watch for, because at some point we're going to have to get that 3-year cycle decline. It's inevitable. And you think about this, I think I measured this last time. It was like 500%. We've had a pretty big rally. At the same time, if you look at this move here, I mean that's how this move here. So you got this move here, like move up, higher low, move up, lower low, right? Lower than this, but then we made this higher low, higher low, higher low. Like this huge advance here suggests to me that this is not done. Like you can imagine the symmetry, right? Like this large move kind of gets replicated. I'll take the auto off. Like it gets replicated up here. You kind of imagine. Again, there will be higher lows along the way for sure, but it definitely has that character to it. And when you look at the weekly chart, I'll also call out if we do expect that we're getting a daily cycle low here, right? And so I would expect that we're going to also get a weekly swing low. Doesn't mean it's definitely an ICL, right? You can have a weekly swing low without it being an ICL, a weekly cycle high, or excuse me, low. But if we can trade above 2316 next week, that would give us a weekly swing low. So you imagine we get up here, we could still face resistance. I'm guessing we'll face very fierce resistance if we manage to make it all the way up into the 27 area, right? Doubt we even get that high if we're going to roll over and this isn't your ICL, which it's very likely that it's not, right? And that's where your 10 period moving average, which is now sloping lower, I'll zoom in, is probably going to converge in that kind of area. And so I suspect that's probably where we turn back. And so we still haven't made a low below the previous weekly cycle. So that's really promising. We could end up, the bottom could end up being below this low for sure. But the fact that we didn't already get there, whereas the S&P, I'll just flip to that really, really quickly. That's an important comparison. I mean, look at the S&P by comparison, right? Way below that previous weekly cycle low, and below that, so like it's in a much more like we're just kind of rolling over, sort of, you could call it a rounding top, right? You can kind of see that, right? Like it's a kind of a dome sort of shape. You don't get that from CCJ. It's clearly making higher lows, higher low, higher low, higher low. Again, now we're going to have to see, do we hold above that 18, 19 level? That would be your really bullish signal if we're able to do that. And I'll quickly look at just a sort of smattering of different, uranium assets. So this is CCJ, which we were just looking at, the URA, ETF, GoVX, Fission Uranium, Paladin Energy, NextGen, Uranium Energy Corp, Denison Mines, everyone's favorite. My God, that thing is back to 109. I'll zoom into this one. It's funny, people love playing these tiny, like $1, $2 stocks. So I'll just kind of look at this one really quickly. I'll add these back in. So these are Keltner channels. I like to look at this every now and then for like a different perspective. This line here, this middle line, is really just a 20 period exponential moving average. You can see we've fallen kind of off a cliff. And so I imagine that's a good target for a rally, right? So maybe we get back to like in the 144 area. Now you can see this is sloping down, so this is going to continue to sort of creep down. And so maybe it's more like a 135, 130 before we kind of turn further down. And notice, right, that CCJ chart had not made a lower low below the previous, oh, sorry, I'll take the crosshairs off, had not made a lower low below this previous weekly cycle low. This one has, right? I know I don't have it marked here, but you can tell if you start to get good at this, you can kind of spot it. Like that's clearly a weekly cycle low. I mean, you see this decline, and then that's your swing low, that's your rally, that's your top so far. We're now kind of rolling over. And so I'd say just in general, again, CCJ continues to be, I would say, my preferred way to play this. Maybe calls if you want a little extra leverage, until at least we know the broader market is out of the woods, which I don't think we get until at least June, or excuse me, at least July, maybe even August for QQQ. And there's no guarantee that the next cycle, the next sort of rally is going to be any more bullish, that we're not going to get an early top.